This is the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. And this morning, we're going to be looking at doing business internationally. My name is Loa Ann, and in my coaching and consulting work, I help solopreneurs stay focused and motivated as we take their business to the next level using some pretty simple structures and some easy technologies. We'll be right back right after this. Greetings wherever you are, and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is a weekly success circle intended as a support to solopreneurs. And we get together because we enjoy each other's company, but we also like exchanging ideas and information, and we seem to be doing lots of experimenting these days. And we also give and receive support from one another. You can discover what we stand for by reviewing the operating principles on the web page where I'm hosting this video. I want to welcome our viewers and invite them to check in by telling us what you do in the comments section right over on the right-hand side of this page. And now it's time for our members of the panel to introduce themselves. So please be brief. Tell us where you are and what you do, and something about what's new or exciting or an issue that you're struggling with, whatever works for you. So normally what I do is I try to just invite people in the order in which they arrived. So that would be you, Vivek. Nice to see you today.
Namaste. My name is Vivek, and waketechnology.com is my website. And my tagline is unify, simplify, amplify life. So I try to combine technology, make it simple, technology, as well as a bit of yoga and life. So that's what I do. So waketechnology.com is my website. I am in the United Kingdom, England. The weather has been going up and down. The last week was really hot. This week we are back to the heating and all these sweaters and all the rest of it. So it is still sunny outside, but it is very cold. Strange, but
So what you're describing seems to have happened here as well. Last week we had a really, really warm spell, sunny, warm. I was going to go get my summer clothes out. This week, not so much. So I think this morning when we were doing our walk, it was about 10 degrees.
Mm.
So yeah. And kind of cloudy and kind of windy, although the forecast is predicting some sunshine for this afternoon. I hope that's what it's going to be. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Summer will arrive eventually.
Yeah.
Right. Oh dear. And I also might say to everyone who's listening is when you talked about amplify, simplify all your taglines, I certainly have taken advantage of some of the skills that Vivek has.
Thank you.
Uh, my The sign up system for this session was designed by Vivek, and using all of the Google products, using spreadsheets and forms and all of those things, and mail, of course, and calendar, all of those Google pieces. So if you have a desire to kind of make things happen automatically using all of those wonderful Google tools, I mean, Vivek is definitely the guy to talk to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Right on. So, just in case you're wondering what it's called, we decided to call it Chipmunk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a temporary name at one stage of the game, but it seems to have stuck, hasn't it?
Yeah, because it did strike a chord in the sense it does go around various places and very active and lots of things it does. So,
Yeah. So chipmunks are busy little creatures. So. Oh dear. So yes. So I encourage anybody who needs something like that. You need to talk to Vivek because he's a real Google expert. So now, Fred, you were the second one here. Welcome here.
Thanks, Lowell. And I'm Fred Jones. I'm also in the Victoria area, British Columbia, Canada, on the West Coast. And as you said, the weather is exactly here, although I'm on the other side of Victoria. It's the same.
Yeah.
Even though I'm closer to Jay. If Jay comes here, he'll tell you it's sunny and
Oh
warm.
yes, he'll always try to tell you that Langford is much nicer than Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I'm the creator of Our Future Leaders, which is a cutting edge online group coaching program, which I run for young people. I'm working with homeschool youngsters at the moment, helps them with their communication and leadership skills, which they really need in today's world, which is changing so dramatically. By the time they enter adulthood, it's not going to be recognizable. So this helps them that. And if anyone knows of any more homeschool youngsters, any connections, I'd be happy to hear from them, because I'd like to expand my area and the number of youngsters I'm working with. So I appreciate that. But it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy working with these young people.
I bet you do. Yeah. Well, when you speak of change, my goodness. I mean, just look at what's going on online right now. The changes that are occurring. And my walking partner this morning said she ran into an article that explained how the whole technology world is moving into manufacturing, and it'll be local manufacturing, and I mean they're just things are moving at a breakneck speed. Yeah.
So we're not going to recognize the world at all in the next decade or two. It's
No.
just unbelievable what's happening at such a rapidly increasing rate all the time. So the young people have to be very creative and very flexible, because what they're going to face has never been faced before by
Yeah, and what was it? Mayanna. I've been following Mayanna's blog posts. She's been doing quite a few recently because she created a whole group of things around web speed, and I mean, people are are going to. I mean, if we just look at PHP, Gutenberg, and GDRP, and I mean all of those things that are going to happen, plus the whole Google Home thing, that I mean somebody was predicting, and that might have been Mayana, that screens are going out. That we're probably not going to need screens at all. That maybe just from a phone or a wristwatch, we can tell it to project something onto a wall. Ooh, so we, we, we are living in very, very, very interesting times. So, oh dear. So let's see. Alana, I think you were here next. And you said you had a day already.
Yeah, I've had a day. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but yeah, I'm glad to be sitting down, trying to relax, and trying to stay calm. Anyway, my name is Alana, and I'm coming to you from Ireland, where it's 5:10 in the evening here, and our weather is crap as well. Rainy and cold, and feels more like autumn than it does spring. I run a website called emptynestblog.com, where I help empty nesters create their own online income. And as a result of that, I also run a virtual assistant business specializing in web content administration. So yeah, it's interesting. You were talking about the times we live in. I was coming back from Dublin today, listening to the radio, and somebody was talking about having pizzas made by robots, and they didn't say which company it was. I missed it. I missed which company they were talking about. But they said they were going to basically eliminate staff because it could make pizzas with robots. So yeah.
Oh my goodness.
If you're older like us, we have seen a huge transformation in the world from, vinyl all the way up to MP3 and 4. So, definitely interesting times.
No kidding. A robot making pizza. Well,
yeah, I wish I knew the company that was talking about it, but yeah, I missed it.
Right. Okay.
But happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, happy you're here. So just breathe. If you had a day, just breathe.
I can sit down and the day is over now, which is even better.
Yeah, right. Oh, now Heidi, I sure didn't expect to see you today, given all the things that are happening in your life. So welcome here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Heidi Hörnlein from Italy, and I'm glad that here the pizza is made by hand and not by robots, because I wouldn't like to eat that stuff. Anyway, we have just finished our series of conscious aging. Yeah, and we will have a little bit of an interval now. It was planned, the interval, and we were intending to go to the Integral Conference in Hungary this month. But probably we can't, because Mark seems to be more ill than we thought. So we will figure that out and probably stay at home and do our things we need to do at home. Mm-hmm. So what is exciting at the moment, I had here a Finnish woman for 3 months, and she helped me to recreate my websites. The paradisointegrale.com is a sort of a static web page, and this is ready, while the wisdomfactory.net, having about 200 pages. She has created all the templates for me, and now I have to work to re-put all pages together. But I would love if you could go there and give me some feedback. For me, it is marvelous what a person who has a artistic sense can do. Well, me, I just made it sort of practical, but without this aesthetic knowledge and the aesthetic feeling, first of all. And second, not the knowledge how to do that. I sort of stumbled around a little bit here, a little bit there. And so she has created for me a system in where I hope, let's say in a few months, I will have the whole page recreated and I'm happy about that. It
Aha.
looks a little bit more professional and not like me, dilettante artist.
Well, I did go and look. You created a page that is about me. on
I
your,
recreated that.
on your site, and it looks very good. I thought it was just awesome. So yeah,
Good.
right
Also,
on.
Fred should be already in the new shape. So have a look too.
Right on. So, so I'm glad you made it here, and I'm glad that I yeah, I'm still really interested in the whole conscious aging concept. So I hope that you will continue that
Yeah, I hope
for
so
another
too.
season. Yeah, right on.
Anyway, something I will do. It's for
Right,
sure.
right. Well, we're all doing that, aren't we? We're aging. We may not be doing it consciously. So, right.
Yeah, I'm
So,
glad I'm back. It was a little bit the last weeks. I had a bit of a problem with several things, So
yeah, right on. So, welcome here. So, Jay, good morning. And how are things in Langford?
Hello from sunny Langford. Everything is great.
We predicted you were going to say
I
that.
I got a little bit of a burn on my way from the car. So here, I apologize if I'm a little bright and tan. Seriously, it's actually blue skies right now, and as you can see, the reflection from my here. Let's see if I
Your
can.
window?
Yeah. There you go. See, there is a blue sky.
Yes. Well, the sky looks about the same here. So the sun isn't quite out yet, though.
Right.
So,
Well, it comes here first.
of course.
So.
Of course.
Yes. Hi, my name is Jay. My company is Magi Studios, and we help people get started in the world of online marketing through coach, consulting, and training. Very happy to be here, and really excited to talk about international business today. It's something that I deal with every day, and so I think it's a great topic to talk about.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and I might have to leave. I'm just kind of recovering from being sick, so my voice might go out every once in a while. So I want to apologize in advance.
no. Well, you have young folks at home, and it seems that everybody who has young folks at home, those kids bring the stuff home from school, don't they?
It's a vicious cycle. I tell
Yes.
you.
Yeah. I know. Well, now, first of all, just for those of you who came in later, you will notice that our friend Bill is among the missing this morning. He was flying from Belize to Ontario. He's settling in Barrie, Ontario. And that was the mid to latter part of last week. So I kind of didn't expect him to be here because he will have had many things to look at coming back to Canada, and it kind of feeds into what we're going to talk about today because he will have to go into banks and change things. Change things around and get a web presence and all of the things that one does when one changes country. So chances are we may hear a little bit more about that, the experience as time goes on. So this morning we did I guess the after show last week, we got into talking about what happens when we're changing country and trying to do business internationally, etc. And realized that might well be a really good discussion since we are a sort of an international group here. We've all got issues and experiences to draw from. But I think we kind of started out by saying, well, when we're trying to do all this work within Amazon, for example, well, Amazon has a different presence for each country. And, there's all those things that you need to take care of in order to be able to even do that. So I mean, and before we started our live discussion here this morning, I think it was Vivek who said, wow, when you move from one country to another, there is just utter chaos for a few months, mostly in the banking system. So, Vivek, would you like to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, banking seems to be the system which seems to have enormous power, in the sense they control everything. But when it comes to international finances and moving money and all that, they seem to be still in the probably 19th century or something like that. So when we moved from India back at the turn of the century, shall I say, 1999, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. To open an account was a nightmare. They kind of assume that you had so many things, and if you don't have, then you can't. Things like credit rating. How can you have a credit rating when you're new to the country? You can't. But they expect you to have one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so that was a big nightmare, and okay, we managed somehow to get an account and all that, but it still is a big problem. I mean, countries themselves have restrictions. Each country is different. So say, for example, if you want to move money to India or out of India, then it's entirely a big hassle. You can put money into India, but you can't take it out legally. And so apart from that, the banking systems, they seem to be not keeping up with the modern age. That I would say one of the main reasons why the Bitcoin and things like that, they are gaining popularity and all that, is because quite a lot of people are frustrated, annoyed by the existing banking system, which is still in the 19th century.
Well, now I was going to tell you something that I discovered, and I just love it. The banking system here allows you to do everything from your phone now, and including make a deposit. You just take a picture of the check, both sides of the check, and make a deposit. I mean, to me, that just saves so much hassle and etc. So they are moving some things into the present tense here, but yeah, and I remember Bill saying the other thing that was really difficult for him was paying taxes. Like if you're living outside of the country that you came from, and all of that back and forth. So that's yeah, an incredible thing. So Heidi, I see you waving.
Yeah. I wanted to say I come from Germany. I went to Italy in the 80s. And I was used from Germany that the bank stuff was quite easy. For instance, the post bank, I had all the formulas, and then there was an envelope, and I just put it in the post box and everything happened. I came to Italy and I thought, Hey, you had to make long queues and nothing worked. You couldn't pay your rent with the bank. Every time you had to go. This is a little better, but still the difference are so huge. I mean, with the German bank, the online banking, I do it for 15 years without any problems, and it's really secure. With, SMS now coming back to me and so on. And it's free. Of course, it is that's a computer doing it, no? In Italy, they have it now. At the beginning, you had to pay, I think, €2, now still 50 cents for every
Transaction?
sending the money to, and everything is so complicated. You look at the websites and you don't find a way around there, or, and then I found out that America is even worse. When Mark came here, and then he couldn't somehow use his credit card anymore because he wanted to change the address and of his where he's living now, and it was not possible. He had to go to America and had a notary thing to change the address where you live for your bank. And I thought, where are you? And then bank transfers, it's so difficult or impossible. You still have this check stuff. We don't have checks anymore for 15 or 20 years,
Yeah.
And by the way, when you want to send money, we found out a system, is it TransferWise or something? Yeah. And this is really a good system because they don't really move money from one country to the other, but they accumulate it in a pot in one country and pay it out in the other country. And it costs so much less of fees than it would cost by banking.
What's it called again, Heidi?
TransferWise, I think. I can send you the link. Yeah, we can send you the link, and then we get even some bonus or something. We haven't done it lately, but slowly you get, because Mark has the money in America. We don't send it over because the rates are so bad. We wait for better rates.
Crazy.
But I was really shocked. A country like America, and with this banking system, how do they do that? I don't know.
Well, in America, it's private banks, so I'm guessing that a lot of them are they differ from one bank to another.
But they could really work. I mean, even if they were private, we have private banks too in Germany, and they sort of work.
Yeah,
They sort of work. How a bank works. And everywhere else I see America, and I thought America is the big country, everything is working. It's like Italy. I mean, so coming back to making business over, I have this question to Jay with this strange one link Amazon thing. It doesn't seem to work at all. We try it out, clicking on the links of, for instance, I do it with Lowell Ann and she with me, but it never shows up as a earning, or we do something wrong, or I don't know, something is wrong.
I would like us to put the Amazon question aside for the moment.
Okay.
I'm sure that we've all talked about the issues we've had with Amazon, but just I really wanted. I wanted us to share some of our experiences so that people who are watching get a sense of the major differences that we're all facing. So, Alana, I know that you're used to the American banking system and you're now into a different banking system. Did you experience a lot of problems, or do you?
I did when I first moved here. So that would have been in 97. And there almost seemed to be some sort of twisted nepotism here, that in order to get a bank account, you had to know somebody. So luckily my husband had an account here, a savings account. And so we opened our first account there. And the other weird thing that happened is a woman couldn't have her name on a bank account. It was only the man's name. And I had to fight tooth and nail to get my name put on the account as well, because everything we have is joint. So that was another issue we ran into. And when we brought our money across, house in Connecticut. Sorry, we sold a house in California. We brought the money over here and we put it in. We had a money order or a bank draft or whatever. We put it into the bank and it took, I think, 2 months to clear.
Oh,
It was the most bizarre thing ever. It's like we could not get our hands on that money for anything. It was crazy.
wow.
So as a result of that, I have accounts here and I have a US account as well. So that kind of helps me. I have many different ways to get paid through my work. So I can get paid, you know, if I do work in the States, I can have people, I give someone the option, they can pay me through PayPal, they can send me a direct deposit, and over here they pay me directly into my bank account, so it works.
Yes. One thing that I discovered not long ago is that we can email e-transfer money within Canada. But when I wanted to e-transfer money to somebody outside the country, that it wasn't going to go there. So from that perspective, I discovered that PayPal is the best bet because it doesn't seem to really matter what country you're dealing with. So yeah. So Jay.
Yeah.
So I have a question for everyone here. And the question is, when it comes to paying someone for services rendered or products rendered, and it's an international transaction, who do you think is responsible for the transaction? And what I mean by that is, if I have to pay, let's say Fred, who's in Australia, let's say, you know, I paid for Fred's services, he did a great job, and he sends me an invoice, and that invoice is in Australian currency, right? So let's say it's 100 you know, Australian currency, and so is it my obligation to find the solution to pay him in that currency, or should I just pay in my currency and let the vendor deal with the currency transaction, the currency, the forex, basically?
I get your question because I've stumbled on that situation. I am working with a client who lives in another country. Initially, I would send her an invoice in PayPal, and in the country that she was in, she could, and I just initiated it in Canadian funds. And at her end, she was able to pay in Canadian funds from her end. But and that was around the time when American and Canadian dollars were on a par. But when that sort of went out of sync, she suddenly was not able to do that. And so the only way that we could work that out was for me to send her the invoice in U.S. funds so that she could pay it using U.S. funds. So so that's what we've had to do. Now she's in a different country, but still the same issue. It seems as though the only way she can pay me is if I send her a U.S. invoice, and that she pays it in U.S. funds. So, yeah, that's a tricky one, Alana. Yeah, so you're sort of running into that too, I'm sure.
Well, I'm just wondering if TransferWise would help you with that, because I think that when you transfer money with TransferWise, you can transfer it to using different currency, if I recall. Now, I used it once, and I sent money to my U.S. account, and I seem to recall that I was able to do an exchange where I want to send over 500 euro, and it would convert it to U.S. dollars for me. So that might be a way for you to get around that, is through TransferWise, because I don't think PayPal will do that. But the way I do it is I already have that set up in advance. I would say, okay, my rate is whatever, and it's usually in US dollars, and my clients here, I get paid in euro, and I give them my rate for that. I haven't run across any other currency issues, so it's all US dollars and euro for me.
Now, mind you, PayPal. So when that money comes in from that client, it comes in U.S. dollars, and I just go to PayPal and say deposit it in my bank account, and it just does the calculation, charges a little fee for doing the calculation, and deposits, the right amount into my bank account.
Yeah, PayPal is great like that. So then your bank would do the exchange and probably charge a transaction fee for that exchange.
Well, no, I don't pay any. I don't pay any fees from my bank, but I do pay a fee to PayPal.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And I have noticed that on PayPal I have two different voices. One is in US dollars and one is in euro, and they tell me how much I have still left in US dollars and how much I have left in euros. And then if I don't have, for instance, any US dollars anymore but want to pay in dollars or need to pay in dollars, then they calculate it. But it's sort of a double.
Yeah, you have a primary, because you can have as many currencies in your PayPal account. So you have a primary account, a primary currency, which could be literally any currency you want, right? By default, it's the currency that you currently reside in.
Right.
But then you can add any other currency as an account, as part of that account. So because I do a lot of transactions within the United States, I also have a U.S. currency as part of my own PayPal account, right? And so when I want to take that money out of my PayPal, I have a choice. I can then transfer, or I can exchange the currency from U.S. to Canada within PayPal.
Yeah.
Or I can transfer the funds from my U.S. account to my Canadian bank account, and then the exchange will happen there. Either way, it's both the same exchange rate. It's PayPal's exchange rate, which does fluctuate, and it is based on today's market.
Yeah.
When they do that, because you know what, PayPal has to make money somehow, right?
Of course.
So they're obviously going to charge a transaction fee as well, but which is fine in my opinion. So, but yeah, the bank does not, unless it's a business account, and any kind of transactions that you do, whether they're online or whatever, will charge a transaction fee. But this is very typical within having a business bank account. So.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be realities working with clients online and internationally, right? And I think we need to realize, walking into that there's going to be foreign exchange issues when it comes to dealing with clients online, and you just have to accept that, right?
Yes.
And I'm personally, I'm totally cool with it, and when it comes to working with clients online and internationally, I love working with international clients, because then what happens is you're working basically, if you think about it, 24 hours, right? So right now, if I'm working, with Alana, who's right here, actually, in my screen, right down there, it's like the Brady Bunch, right? Down. So if I'm working with Alana, she is working when I'm sleeping.
Yes.
Right. So, or she's buying my products while I'm sleeping, or I'm buying her products when she's sleeping, right? So it's a great market to be in, working internationally. So, I love it, right? I absolutely love it, working with clients international, right? International clients.
So, I mean, yes, we've got all these financial issues, but I thought it would be interesting for us to kind of think through, because there are lots of other issues, and one of them you just pointed out, Jay, and that is the differences in time zones, and how to manage that. I know that my client in another country, I need to meet with her Saturday at 5 p.m., and that is Sunday morning for her. So I mean, it's a real juggle to find convenient times for both people, and etc. But I think there's a number of other issues that we really need to pay attention to. And I mean, the last couple of weeks, or last week when we were talking about the GDRP, I mean, it's pointed up to the fact that when we're dealing with other countries, we need to recognize that every country has its own legal system and its own privacy systems and all of those things. And then we did talk about taxes and duties and so forth. But then there are a number of other issues that sometimes maybe we don't think a lot about in terms of interacting with people from other countries. One of them being language, for example. Sometimes we find accents are hard. Idioms and acronyms and all of those things are not understood by other languages. And I mean, yes, we can say, well, we're English speaking, so we're going to deal in the English speaking world. But there are many countries where there are many people who speak English, but they learn to speak English in an academic school system. So all of these acronyms and phrases and so forth are not going to mean anything to them. So then we have to recognize that we need to speak a basic language. Another issue that comes up that comes to my mind is the cultural one. In many different countries, there's a difference in gender roles, and Alana, you made mention of what you encountered when you went to Ireland, but that whole gender role is going to be a huge issue in many places. There are countries where women don't do anything in terms of business, and so how do you do business with somebody who is not used to doing business with women? So there's another one. The other one that has come up, I think it's come up in our group here. Our humor is quite different. The way we interpret things and what's as humorous in one place is not necessarily humorous in another place. And marketing styles, whether you do the real direct approach, or whether you do something a little bit more subtle or whatever. So those are issues. Etiquette issues are going to come up. And Fred, I know that there are people who are going into the school systems these days here to teach young people etiquette, because they don't seem to be sort of getting it elsewhere. But there is an etiquette around doing what we're doing here, really, when you think about it. And then ethics. There could be huge differences in ethics. Why, whether we do things and how we reward people and all of those things. And dress codes could be another. I mean, these are all pieces that fall under the whole cultural piece. And then we have the political issues. I noticed for a long time with some of our American friends that we didn't bring up the latest election and the latest things that are going on, and it seems to be more wide open now. But there was a while there where nobody touched anything that had to do with politics. So that's the another area, and oh, and so and styles. I think of in some cultures, the business style is a very left brain kind of thing. And in other cultures, the softer skills, the right brain things come in. So these are all considerations that we need to think about and think how we might land and how we might do that. Jay.
So that's I mean, I think those are all very valid points, and it's a long list.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I don't pay attention to most of those when it comes to running my business. So, and I'm not trying to do that to be egotistical or anything like that, but I realize and I understand doing the. I teach webinars every Friday, and we have an international audience that comes. And I realized by doing these over the number of years that we have to draw a line in the sand when it comes to adapting to other people's environments, if you will. Okay. So, and that includes time zones and language barriers and all that kind of stuff, So if, I'm not going to go run out and learn Italian just because we have someone that's, we have a group that speaks Italian as their first language, right? So there has to be that common ground, or that middle ground where people are willing to meet in the middle, as opposed to one person adopting and making these changes to accommodate all of these different things, And so, for example, I mean, if someone can't understand what I'm saying, then it is not my avatar. It's not my particular audience. I feel bad that, unfortunately, I can't address that, but there has to be that limit, And the same goes with, we talked about humor and cultural differences. And so, is it my responsibility to go out and research every single culture that's going to attend my webinars and adapt so that it coincides with everyone's culture and humor? No, I mean, it's like who changes, right? And we have to understand who's going to be that person who changes. And I think there has to be that common ground and that line in the sand that has to be drawn.
I couldn't agree more, Jay. I mean, where if somebody wants to do business with me, they need to make some adjustments as well. But from my perspective, I feel that I need to have an awareness of all of those things, and I mean, I watch you on your Friday night thing. You have an awareness. It's very obvious, and you at certain times you play with it. What would you when you talk about the difference between a niche and a niche, for example? I mean, there is a middle ground, and we all need to make adjustments, and we all can. I mean, the best way to work with that is with a little bit of playfulness and so forth. But there still needs to be an awareness there, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not going to expect I don't expect other people to make huge numbers of changes, but the awareness got to be there.
Yes, the number one request that I always get from people is changing the time and the date of the webinars,
Yeah.
more the time,
Yeah.
right? Because they are international, like poor Alana and Heidi, you know, it's 2 a.m. or 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Start. So it's 1 a.m. for them when they start. Well, and obviously with the same with Vivek too, right?
Yeah.
So you know, so it's either me broadcast at 1 a.m. so that I can accommodate them, which would not be a really good webinar.
Right.
I'd either be tired or drunk. So, you know,
Right.
so you know, who knows? Then maybe it would actually be a better way.
Well, and you get all kinds of accusations when you take out the water jug and say, "This is what
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
juice is this?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My ominous wealthy affiliate.
Well, wealthy affiliate juice or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, but the funny thing is that you know, we're not changing the times, right? I mean,
No.
you know, I'll take it in, but you know, we won't. I mean, we're not going to change the times, right? Because we've been doing it at the same time. Consistency is key. So I'm humbled and honored that there's people that actually they go out of their way to come to the live webinars, you know, at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. wherever they are in the world. So you know, they'll either drink coffee or some sort of stimulant, or they'll take a nap or something like that, so that they can actually attend.
Yeah.
And I get people that apologize that they're late because their alarm woke up, or it was hard for them to wake up at 1 a.m. It's like, dude, you know, seriously, don't apologize, you know. So, but it's really cool, you know. It's cool, and it's great to see that people are hustling and they know what they want, and those people that know that they want, they're going to be the leaders in their niche, you know, because I personally think that the people that actually take the time to go out and wake up at you know 12:30 in the morning so that they can learn more about their business, or they take the time to go outside of their normal comfort zone to do something, those are the people that are going to be really, you know, doing really well for themselves. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And so, I mean,
Plus, there's another advantage, though, that you haven't mentioned, and that is that whole feeling and sense of community.
Absolutely.
And that, I mean, Wealthy Affiliate plays on that in a huge way. And so that becomes part of it.
It creates from a business perspective, it creates a really good attrition rate. So people are going to be staying in a community longer, thus paying longer, right? So your attrition rate, you know, dramatically increases. So it's fantastic. It's a great business model. So, but yeah, at any rate, you know, like working with international students and international clients, it's great, you know, and I find that people tend to go out of their way more to access the information that you're delivering, you know, and I think that's one of the great things about working with stuff with online, you know, working with clients online, is that we don't need to fly to them, or we don't need to have phone calls, and you know, they can access either information live, or they can access information you know, the next day or whatever, right? Like even Fred at one point, when Fred was in Australia, there was a day where he attended this forum, you know, this session, and I think it was the next day, or it was late at night or something. I don't remember, but
it was 4 a.m.
Oh, there you go. So well, he was up and he'd already had breakfast and went for a run and fixed his swimming pool or something. I remember, right? So you know, Fred's a hustler. So you know.
Well, and and I mean, we have to do business and offer what we have in our own from our own terms, and create our own boundaries, etc. But I might give another example. There are numerous of us that connect a little bit using the Hangout text box. And so quite often, one of us will want to talk to the other one and just put something in there. Are you at your desk now? Are you free to talk, or whatever? and recognizing, time zones and culture as well. I don't, Vivek, do you mind if I give an example of that that we've used?
Yeah,
We
go on.
had Vivek and I had a long time ago, as a result of something that I posted in my community, my Google Plus community, that kind of, raised a discussion. And the more we discussed, the more we realized that we were, in a sort of a way, on the same wavelength without really realizing we were. So, Vivek always begins a conversation with namaste. And there's a meaning for that. It means that my spirit addresses and acknowledges your spirit. And so and I mean, we use that here in Canada in our yoga, in our singing forums, and all kinds of things, because it really, especially singing, because when we're singing, our, the vibrations and harmonies and all of that, it works well together. But I threw in something that I encountered by being involved with First Nations, and their greeting is all my relations, and their greeting means I acknowledge you and the planet and the plants and the flowers and all of your friends and your relatives. I acknowledge the whole thing. It's like it's a way of saying we are all one. It's part of the First Nations cosmology. So suddenly, Vivek and I say goodbye every time. Namaste to all my relations, just as a way to acknowledge. And I kind of like that. So, but I must say there have been times when we're gabbing away on text and I forget what time it is there. and so, you know, it's
The the beauty is that the Hangout text messages, they are there to be addressed later if I
yes.
need to and want to, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, the other aspect to that is I do keep my phone in such a way that after 9 o'clock at night, it goes into silent mode. So people can ping me or do whatever they
Yeah.
want. I won't be disturbed. It stays on the phone.
Yeah.
The phone remains silent. It happens automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
I don't
I
have to.
learned that from you.
Yeah.
I did the
So
same thing on my phone. But you got to tell your computer the same thing unless you turn it off at night.
yeah, I do turn it off. So
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious to know what everybody else is thinking. I mean, Jay and I have been saying yes. We do business on our own terms, and yet using cultural and awarenesses, etc. How do the rest of you relate to this, Fred?
Excuse me, my input is from Toastmasters side, and also I
Mm-hmm.
used to work with a company that dealt internationally. We sold project management software over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start with that. We were a Canadian company based in Toronto, but we did all of our billing in US dollars, no matter where you were, including in Canada. We dealt with a Canadian government organization sometimes, and we said, you have to pay us in American dollars, and 99 times out of 100 they would, anywhere
Mm-hmm.
in the world. And it was easy to do that. It came to the bank account. I didn't do the banking, so I'm not sure exactly, but it came to a Canadian bank account, and I know you can have US dollar bank accounts, and you can move it from one to the other. But
Mm-hmm.
it seemed to work quite well. Everybody was happy to pay us in US dollars, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing. The other side of Toastmasters is you are aware we're in 124 countries.
Wow.
So you get aware of that there are differences in cultures.
Wow.
And I think what Jay said is quite right. They will adapt, but you should also be aware. We shouldn't think that, and most of us have traveled, and most of us have dealt with people in other parts of the world. So you do realize that things are a bit different, and you can discuss it, and it becomes fun. And as long as you have the right attitude and you're open, it's only when you become dogmatic and say, no, this is the only way, because that's the way we do it here. No, it's not the only way. And that you might do it here, but there they do it differently. And we all tend to realize that after a while, if we are dogmatic at first, or most of us will anyway. Some of us might never say it's the only way. And that's particularly, I think, in countries that we're mostly located in, we're aware that there are other cultures. Some people, and I guess we could blame the Americans to a certain extent, sometimes they're not aware. And it takes them a awakening to realize that they think everything is like it should be like in the States. But in general, I think most of us are aware. And we get along. Oh, there are articles in our magazine, in Toastmasters magazine, from time to time, mentioning the differences and certain no-nos in different countries. You wouldn't do this in Japan, for example, or in China. And it helps, but there are places to learn that if you need to, if you're finding you're having a bit of a challenge. But in general, I think, as Jay said, we all realize that, particularly people in other countries, that we have our idiosyncrasies. So it's not a major issue in general.
Fred, I think Fred brought up in conversation brought up a really interesting point, is that how Canadian companies charge US dollars, which is fine. You know, I personally had no problem with that whatsoever. But it's when they charge the GST and the PST in US dollars that I have a huge issue with, because now I'm paying an additional 30%, you know, on average, depending on how the dollar goes, of tax that I don't need to. It's ridiculous. So it's like, why are you charging me, additional GST? Because I mean, they're not going to be paying that same amount that I had to pay to them, right? When it comes to the GST. So there's my.
If I may say, we only charge the GST to Canadian companies. We didn't charge it to anyone else.
I know, but it's in U.S. currency.
Yeah, but that's, if you convert it to Canadian, they still would pay the same amount, you know, in Canadian. I understand, and each province is different, so we had to have that. So, but unfortunately, we didn't have as many Canadian customers as we had international, so we came across it once in a while. And I agree, we had kickback from time to time. Particularly the government. The government was really the thing. We're paying. You want us to pay in US dollars, and some of them did, and some of them insisted that we convert it to Canadian. And so we converted that to Canadian, and they paid the GST in Canadian, which was the equivalent of what they would have paid in America. Anyway, I thought I would come early.
I think that's,
I do leave.
Yes, I know you have a meeting, and I'm looking at the time. It's 10:02. So I would like to respect everybody's time. And so I would
like to say something still, because I have a different question here, or a different situation. I'm doing a lot with you all in English, but I live in Italy, and I am in German. So I theoretically, you all can do business with English-speaking people because they are all over the world. But here with me, I'm doing, let's say, publicity in English, but I have no customers in Italian because they don't read the websites in English. And German also. So the language is a problem. If it is only, let's say, language inside of English, then it's relatively more problem than when it's really different languages. And so,
well, I've noticed that you have had German guests on your show, and and
they speak English because the audience is English, and it's really difficult. Or I have to create 3 different lines of shows for the Germans and for the Italians, and then I get completely Anyway,
Yeah.
it is really a
Yeah.
problem when you have to be then in the language of the person you are dealing with. And definitely here are Italians, but they don't know even what I do because I'm doing it in English.
I think that's, the issue there is, if I can answer that quickly, is that can be resolved on how you initially approach your business. Who's your audience? If you think about who your audience is what language does your audience speak, right? So if you want to go after, if your audience is people from Italy who speak Italian, then you need to carry forward that particular mentality and write and speak and market in that language and in that culture. If you want to go after people who are English speaking internationally, then you need to go after that audience.
Yeah.
So when you start mixing oil and vinegar here, with these different things, then yeah, obviously there's going to be an issue. So think about who your audience is when it comes to addressing your website and your whole marketing plan, and even just writing it on a whiteboard or blackboard would really solve that issue, right? Creating what's called an avatar. An avatar is your typical audience person who's visiting your site, or your typical customer, right? So if your typical customer is someone living in Italy who primarily speaks Italian, and they are married, and they want to start an online business, then you go forth, and you pursue that particular niche.
And you probably need a different website for that.
Yeah, I have a website in German too, but
Yeah.
about singing, and it's all completely muddled up with me, and so
Well,
Or maybe a translate button.
yeah, I
Oh.
know, but translate into German, and it's really, it butchers everything. You
Yeah.
can hardly understand the things.
Yeah,
So.
it doesn't work. Yeah. So I'm looking at our time, and unless there is another comment from someone, I appreciate the conversation, and I hope that we covered some important aspects to increase at least our awareness. But you're right, Jay. You got to decide who your client is, and then go from there.
Yeah, and my closing statement would be: don't let these realities hold you back from conducting business internationally, right? These are just normal setbacks with business. You have to just push through them, go around them, go over them, take those bricks out of the wall and turn them into a path. Right?
Yeah.
And if you have to chip away at one brick at a time, so be it, right? I mean, that's the thing, is you just have to carry forward and push forward, and that is how you're going to get that path to wherever you're trying to get to.
Okay. So I think that's a good place for us to end, and I shall end by reminding everyone it's important to do what you love with passion. So I'm going to go to my